Today I'm going to be testing out Folk Art's Crackle Medium that gives your craft paint an aged look. The instructions say to give one base coat of a color, allow it to dry for an hour, then apply the Crackle Medium, allow that to dry for an hour, and then on top of that you apply a contrasting color. So let's give that a try. I'm going to start with this homemade stone and I'm going to give it a base coat of black paint to start out. So I'm going to make sure I have really good coverage here, and then just like the instructions say, I'm going to let this dry for a full hour. The next layer going on my rock is going to be the Crackle Medium. When I started painting it on, it does seem to have kind of a glossy shine to it, but I'm not quite sure how it's going to dry. So I'm just making sure I've got it on the edges of this stone and along the top, and I'm trying to smooth in any brush marks because I'm not sure if that will matter at all. Then I'm going to set it aside again and let this coat dry for one more hour. I decided that I was going to use gold for my contrasting top coat because I thought it would look really pretty if this works. So I'm just going to apply the gold paint on top of the Crackle Medium all around the stone, and it goes on pretty well. I noticed that my gold paint is a little thick. I should have kind of thinned it out before I started applying it, but I did notice that the paint kind of dries quickly, and if you go over a spot you already hit, it can pull the paint off just like that. And you can also already see that some of the crackling is already starting. You can see a crack kind of down the middle, and you can see the process already starting to work. So not bad for a first try, but let's keep experimenting a little bit and see if we can master this. I'm creating some hearts as my base coat shapes for these next couple. I'm going to do black and then a lavender because I want to test some different colors with the Crackle Medium again and see how that goes. This is kind of a cumbersome process. It's a good thing I work on multiple things at once because we have to wait an hour and then apply the Crackle Medium again. And you know what happens next. I'm going to try again with the gold paint after I thinned it out a little bit, and I'm going to try and go over this heart but not hit the same spots twice so I don't lift any of the paint up. Again, you can see the crackling already starting, and this looks a little better than the first attempt. For the lavender heart, I wanted to try doing this with color shift paint, which can be a little bit sheer and see-through. It usually looks good over a similar color, so the lavender should work, but I'm not sure how the crackling will go, so I just wanted to try it. It was a total experiment, and so I applied the color shift to the lavender heart, and we'll see what happens. With this one, I don't think this color was contrasting enough for the crackling to show up very well. Now we're going to keep experimenting, but we're going to break all the rules. We're not going to wait for an hour in between each coat. I wanted to try it by adding a base coat and then just letting it dry to the touch. So this is the same amount of time that I would wait for a base coat to dry before I work on it normally, before I add the next thing to it when I'm normally painting a rock. So I'm adding a base coat of white to two rocks, making two little hearts with white paint. And then I'm going to set those aside in front of my little fan and let them dry to the touch before I go on to the Crackle Medium. So my thought here was wondering if the Crackle Medium effect would be better if the Crackle Medium was a little more fresh and not totally dry. So I'm going to apply the Crackle Medium, and I'm going to apply it a little more liberally. So not quite as thin as I did on the previous rocks. I'm adding a little bit more to it, and then again I'm going to let it just dry to the touch. And I decided to do a nice contrasting color, so I'm going with red paint, and I'm applying it quickly with light, quick strokes, and trying not to go over areas that I've already painted red so I don't lift the paint. And you can kind of see the crackling already beginning to happen on the left side of the rock, which is kind of cool. So I think my experiment might work where the fresh crackle paint works a little bit better. You can already see it happening here. Then I'm going to do the same thing with some bright blue paint, and again, light quick strokes and trying not to hit an area that I've already done with the blue. This one was not as apparent with the crackling happening right away like the red paint was, but once I let it set for a couple of minutes, the effect kicked in and it started crackling again. I think my rule-breaking experiment worked so well that I want to give it one more try with the black and gold. So I'm base coating another homemade stone with black paint. I'm going to wait till it dries to the touch, and then I'm going to apply the crackle medium very liberally, so you can see it's kind of going on here quite thick. And then I'm going to come back after this has dried to the touch, and I'm going to add the gold paint and see if I can avoid pulling paint off like I did with the very first try. So I'm starting here with the edges to make sure that I have coverage all the way to the edge of the stone, and then I'm going to apply it to the top with quick, light strokes and not pull any extra paint off. I think this go was an improvement on the first round stone, and I think it makes a neat aged background, and I'm going to add a mandala on top of this stone. So what did we learn from this experiment? The first and probably most important thing is don't wait an hour in between coats. Just let the paint and the crackle medium dry to the touch. The second thing is to apply the crackle medium generously, use contrasting colors, and use quick light strokes with the top coat. Are you going to try the crackle medium? Let me know in the comments. I hope this video gave you a quick little overview of this crackle medium to help you decide if it's something that you would want to have in your painting supplies. Thank you so much for stopping by to watch, and I'll see you next time. Take care.